Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us. We're live on a Tuesday across Charlottesville, Albemarle County, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille Network on a talk show that truly welcomes, appreciates, and embraces viewer and listener feedback. Today's program is presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary. The best dispensary in Charlottesville is Skooma Boutique Dispensary with locations on Ellwood Avenue, the UVA corner, and on the downtown mall next to Rapture. A lot we're going to cover on the Tuesday edition of the show. Chief Brackney continues to be in the news. She is suing Charlottesville for wrongful termination. Yet she's posting on social media that a former city employee, well, when she was on the job, so when she was still working at Charlottesville as the police chief, she said a city employee attended the rally and entered the Capitol. She told the assistant police chief about this, asked him to investigate the city employee who attended the rally and entered the Capitol.
No, I think the assistant chief told her about it.
But she asked the assistant, are you on a two-shot?
Not yet.
First, let's welcome Judah Whitcomer to the show. Hello, Judah.
Hello.
She did a post on social media. Let's paint the picture. And this was not going to be the lead of the show, but why don't we get straight into it, okay? On a social media post on June 9th, former Charlottesville Police Chief Rachel Brackney claims her then assistant police chief knew a Charlottesville employee, attended the rally, and entered the Capitol. She's talking the January 6, 2021, ugly, dark day for America, right?
Yeah.
Something that's going to, my kid, our son, my wife and I's son, will in history class, U.S. history, learn about January 6, 2021, when protesters, entered the Capitol.
Yeah.
And Brackney on June 9th, on social media, claims her former assistant police chief knew of a Charlottesville employee, a rioter, who entered the Capitol. She said on social media, wrote on social media, my assistant chief investigated a city employee who attended the rally and entered the Capitol. He determined the participant in the insurrection was not a criminal. Instead, it was a personnel matter. Chief Brackney determined otherwise and notified the FBI. She posted that on Twitter. She does not name the city employee. She's not responding to requests from local media.
If she named the employee, she'd probably be open for a lawsuit.
I just don't understand. I don't understand why she would even bring this up.
I think she wants to.
Is this FOMO, fear of missing out, of seeing her name in the news?
I think
Is this
so.
someone who's so desperate for attention? I mean, remember about a month and change ago, she was talking about the designated outdoor refreshment area on the downtown mall and how Chip Boyles, the former city manager, was eager to get a designated outdoor refreshment area. Our idea here at I Love CVille on the downtown mall during COVID, because former city manager Boyles realized the designated outdoor refreshment area on the downtown mall would help the restaurants, as we've explained all along, right? Yeah. All along, we've been consistent with this message. And Boyles said, let's do it. Let's rock and roll. In the bottom of the ninth inning, Brackney kept the designated outdoor refreshment area from happening during COVID because she basically said only white, wealthy people will do it. About a month ago, maybe a little bit longer, when the Tom Tom Festival was doing the Dora on the downtown mall, Brackney, out of the blue on social media, on Twitter, just completely out of the blue, tells everyone that she was the reason the designated outdoor refreshment area did not happen during COVID. She's freaking suing the city for wrongful termination, claiming she was fired because she's a woman and because she's black. She's saying that's what's led to her termination. Wrongful termination, Brackney says. She's a black woman, the foundation of her legal argument. A month and change ago, out of nowhere, she's throwing shade on Charlottesville and Chip Boyles about the Dora. Now, she's throwing shade on her former police chief, a city employee, and making Charlottesville look bad in the national news. What the hell's going on?
Not really surprising. I think she wants to keep her name out there.
I mean, do you understand what's going on at all?
Not really. I mean,
do you start wondering about like stability?
Mental stability?
Or like, at the very least, do you start wondering about, does this person see the forest through the trees?
The forest for the trees.
It works either way. It works either way. Do you not start wondering about this? In her time in Charlottesville, she attacked church deacons, literally. At her time in Charlottesville, the department experienced attrition and levels of turnover never seen in CPD history. The department still hasn't recovered. Part of the community's distrust for the CPD, and a large portion of the community does, we're pro-blue in this office and on this network, but a lot of the community distrusts the CPD, and a lot of that can be attributed to her time on the job. Now we got a chief, a position that's still vacant and has not been filled. The hope is by the end of the year, a chief will be named.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it's going to be Tito Durrett as the full-time chief. But every time Brackney wakes up and posts something on social media about Charlottesville, not only does it make news, but it makes the community look bad.
I mean, I don't know if this makes the community
look bad.
Her look like a nut.
It makes her look bad. We're in agreement there. It makes the community look bad. A city hall employee, she claims, was rioting and entered the Capitol on January 6, 2021. That's what she's saying.
Yeah, but it's meaningless without actual, without any substantive, proof of anything.
That's why I don't even understand the tweet.
Yeah.
Why tweet it? She doesn't name the employee. This is gossip and water cooler chatter within the department. She's airing the dirty laundry of the department. It's like a professional sports team and a professional sports team or professional basketball team. Let's say it's a basketball team, and the star player on the basketball team is a guy who's in his late 20s, making a lot of money. And this guy, after working hard on the hardwood, likes to hit the club. And he has an affinity or a passion for beautiful women. And next thing you know, the star player on the basketball team is rendezvousing with a number of pretty ladies after the club. Well, what Brackney is doing right now is like the bench warmer on that basketball team posting all over social media that the star player is chasing girls at the club and airing the dirty laundry of the basketball team and the star player. How is it any different? That's what's happening right now. No one on the basketball team wants anyone on the team to air the dirty laundry of the team. The team shouldn't be talking to the media that the star player is chasing tail at the club. Brackney shouldn't be posting on social media that an employee almost 18 months ago rioted and entered the Capitol. This was almost 18 months ago. Does anyone get what this woman is doing? Finish your thought and we'll go on. Alex Urpí coming up.
I mean, it's. I think you give her too much credit in your analogy. I think it's more like somebody that got kicked off the team who is talking about some random member of the team that did something, like you said, 18 months ago. It's like this guy on the team was doing all this stuff 18 months ago, and nobody cared, but I determined that it mattered. I mean, look what she says. The assistant chief determined that. She
said the assistant chief determined that it was not worth investigating, and then she goes, "Not so fast, my friends. He's wrong. After all, I think it's worth investigating. I'll pass it to the FBI."
Right, but it's all in her language. She calls it participating in an insurrection when she has no idea how the person was involved, or even for what reason the person was there at the Capitol, and then she says, "I determined otherwise." Like, what, did she have footage of the person? Did she have?
She offers no insight.
Yeah. And the assistant chief basically said that the person that was there showed him photos and said that they were invited in. We really don't have any information on why the person was at the Capitol, what they were doing there, or how they got in. And so the fact that anyone is making judgments about any of this situation and bragging.
She shouldn't tweet about this.
About going to the FBI.
Just absolutely.
Yeah, it's all just childish.
It's stupidity. It's absolute stupidity. It's absolute stupidity. It's the man or woman that gets broken up with.
That goes around to all their ex's friends and tries to convince them that the person is a horrible
Exactly
human
right.
being.
It's the man or woman that got broken up with that then goes and starts bashing their ex to try to save face. That's what Brackney's doing right now.
And literally, none of their ex's friends care what they have to say.
Right. Everyone's like, "We've moved on."
Yeah.
It's 18 months. We've moved on.
I've been friends with the guy for 10 years. You dated him for 6 months, and I told him you were bad news from the beginning.
Yeah!
Why are you talking to me?
We've moved on, Rachel. We've moved on. The community has forgotten you. We've moved on.
Well, we clearly haven't forgotten her.
Well, because she did this. When's the last time, and I can't believe I'm even bringing it up right now, when's the last time we've brought up Nakia Walker on this show? We've moved on. In the 6 months since her term has ended, we've moved on. And to her credit, her social has been quiet, unlike the former police chiefs.
Yep, fair enough.
All right, let's go to the lead of the show. The lead of the show is this. What are the most valuable Virginia degrees? I want your take on this topic, J-Dubs. The most valuable Virginia degrees, college degrees from Virginia universities based on estimated average annual earnings. The most valuable ones and the least valuable ones. I don't want to use terms like worthless, because I don't want to throw shade to someone who has this degree. But some of these estimated annual earnings for 26, 27, and 28-year-olds are quite measly, especially for the 4 years of work and the expense associated with going to college. So first, let's set the stage. This is from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. The headline: "Some college degrees in Virginia never pay off. Others provide an immediate return." The article analyzes the most valuable degrees from colleges and universities in Virginia based on estimated average yearly earnings and the least valuable ones. Mm-hmm. The least valuable degree in the Commonwealth of Virginia is a philosophy degree from Virginia Commonwealth University.
Yeah.
Virginia Commonwealth University's philosophy degree is earning on average for men and women aged 26 to 28. So fresh out of college, a philosophy major and degree earns $17,475 a year, Judah.
Yeah.
17 G's. You're 26 years old, 27 years old, 28 years old. On average, you're making $17,475 with a philosophy degree from VCU. Did you see what was number one, Judah Wickhauer?
Yeah. Wasn't it computer science at UVA?
The UVA computer science degree, within 5 years of graduation, University of Virginia graduates with the computer science degree were making $110,000 a year. I'll take it a step further. I got more research for you. According to Code Signal, a San Francisco-based firm that tests software engineering job seekers for proficiency, the computer science degree at the University of Virginia is the number one computer science degree in America.
Wow.
I will repeat that again. According to Code Signal, a San Francisco-based firm that tests software engineering job seekers for proficiency, the computer science degree from the University of Virginia is the number one degree in computer science in America. UVA 1, Carnegie Mellon 2, Yale 3, MIT 4, University of California, Los Angeles 5, University of Pennsylvania 6, Rice University 7, California Institute of Technology 8, University of California, San Diego 9, and Swarthmore College 10. Judah, what struck you first from the lowest earning degrees in the Commonwealth?
What struck me about the lowest earning?
This is what struck me about the lowest earning. The majority of the lowest earning degrees in the Commonwealth were fine arts, drama, dance, or theater.
Yeah. I mean, it's hardly surprising, is it?
The philosophy being the lowest earning degree from VCU surprised me. Did that surprise you?
I don't know if it surprised me. I mean, they're depending on where they go looking for jobs. I mean,
did $17,475 a year of earnings surprise you? Can you imagine going to VCU for 4 years, paying college tuition, room, board, books, expenses, everything else? You graduate from VCU with a philosophy degree, and you're earning a paycheck of 17 grand a year.
I don't know if it surprises me. I mean, some people go to college not for the perceived amount of money they'll make when they get out, but because that's a
rite of passage?
No, not a rite of passage. I think, yeah, some people go to college for the wrong reasons. Other people go to college because they want to study a particular area, whether or not they think they're going to make a lot of money doing it.
So philosophy at VCU is the lowest earning degree in Virginia. Drama theater at Regent University is the second lowest degree. Fine arts at Mary Baldwin University is the third lowest, $18,576 a year. Mary Baldwin Fine Arts. Fine arts at the University of Mary Washington, $20,000 and change. English at Southern Virginia earned you about $21,448 a year. Dance at George Mason, $22,367. Fine arts at Randolph College, $22,598 a year. Dance at Shenandoah University, $22,785 a year. English at Virginia Wesleyan, $23,135, and dance at Radford, $23,302. Let's talk about the highest earning majors, degrees, colleges and universities in Virginia. We've already identified that computer science at UVA is number one, over $111,000 a year. Were you astonished by how much computer science or computer engineering was in the top 10?
Yeah, I was a little surprised by how often that seemed to show up.
Computer science, UVA is the top earning degree in the Commonwealth. Computer science, Washington and Lee is number 2. Computer engineering, UVA is number 3. Computer science, Virginia Tech is number 4. That means computer science or computer engineering are the top 4 spots.
Yeah.
Business, commerce, UVA, which I believe Alex Urpí was a business commerce major at UVA. Is that right? No, he was not. What was he?
Comparative literature.
Comparative literature. So we're going to talk about comparative literature with Alex Urpí today on the show. Business and commerce was number 5 from the University of Virginia. If you could do it all over again, you went to Savannah College of Art and Design.
Yeah.
If you could do it all over again, what'd you major? You majored in painting.
I started off in computer graphics.
Good Lord, man. If you had
I
if you had pursued that computer science track, you would not be working at the thriving and
Just
enterprising
wait,
I
there's
Love
more.
CVille or VMV brands. There's more?
Well, I spent a year at USC taking computer science and
Judah!
computer engineering
Judah!
as a double major.
Judah! Damn it! Your first year at USC, Southern California, Los Angeles. Computer science and computer engineering.
Yeah.
If you had pursued that track, my friend, you may have been the newest version of Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison, the billionaire, who just bought Hawaii's Lanai Island as turning it into a playground for the rich.
Yep.
Instead of buying islands in Hawaii, computer science and computer engineering.
I'm stuck in Charlottesville.
Judah Wickhauer, you're directing the I Love CVille show with your good buddy Jerry, Monday through Friday. The things we do, my friend.
Yep.
The things we do. Talk to me about the pools. I found this so sad, and we'll get to Alex Urpí in about 3 minutes, guys, on today's show. I posted this over the weekend. Did you see that?
Oh, the pools aren't open?
The city pools, man, because they have a lifeguard shortage, they can't open all the pools full time. Washington Park Pool is only Sunday to Wednesday. Honesty Family Aquatic Center is only Thursday to Saturday. And it's a staffing issue. They don't have enough lifeguards to keep the pools open. The crappy part about this is it doesn't impact the wealthy.
Who have their own pools?
Yeah, the city pools are being patronized by the kids and families that are on the financial margin. It's not the wealthy. The wealthy are going to ACAC or Boar's Head or Farmington or the YMCA or Glenmore, and all those pools are open and staffed.
Well, YMCA isn't...
Greencroft, open and staffed. ACAC, open and staffed. Boar's Head, open and staffed.
Yeah, they could go to the YMCA too, though. It's not
YMCA is not free. YMCA is not, and now city pools aren't free, so that's a great counter for you. But the YMCA is a higher entry fee or barrier of entry than the city pools.
I didn't know that.
It is.
The other side is that they are, I get that they can't stay open all week, but it's still pretty good that, some of them are open, what did you say, a good number of days.
Dude, the pools aren't open.
I thought you said they were open.
They're open. Okay, I'll rephrase. The 2 pools that are primarily the ones that are used, they're both not open full time.
Right.
And in the middle of summer, June and July, when it's over 100 degrees, the pool is a godsend.
Yeah.
It just shows, and Bill McChenzie, I'll get to your comment. Aaron King, I'll get to your comment. It just shows, much like what happened during the pandemic with learning, where the private schools were learning business as usual, where the public schools were learning, good God, how do we survive this pandemic with learning? It just shows you that life is not fair, and the opportunities that come with wealth should never be taken for granted.
True.
Bill McChenzie says this: it's all part of the disintegration of the city of Charlottesville. Dude, we're all seeing the writing on the wall.
I mean, is this due to the fact that...
Staffing.
Well, yeah, I know staffing, but the underlying issue with the staffing, is it that somebody working as a lifeguard at the Honesty Pool or at any of the other pools can't afford to live close enough to make it worth it. Like we were talking about,
100%.
Like we were talking about earlier, do you become disincentivized to work if you're basically just paying? I mean, basically just working so that you can afford to go to work.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think a lifeguard makes? City lifeguard.
I don't know, but it's
12, 13 bucks an hour?
I have no idea.
Here's 12 or 13 bucks an hour. You got to sit in this chair in 100-degree weather, in Virginia humidity, watching other people's kids, keeping them alive, and hearing them scream and be annoying.
Yeah, I mean...
That's the job.
That's never stopped.
That's the job.
Yeah,
sit in the chair in
never,
heat, in humidity, and watch annoying kids run around you and keep them alive.
Okay, but that's never
Who wants to do that?
That's never stopped people from being lifeguards before.
Sweat all over your body and sweat down your face and watch little Johnny white boogers on you while you're keeping him alive. That sounds like a great job. And make 12 bucks an hour while you're doing it. Surprise, surprise, we don't have any lifeguards for City Charlottesville, and the pools can't stay open. Good Lord. Crazy times. Carol Thorpe, Queen of Jack Jewett, hello. Johnny Ornalis, we love you, and thank you for sharing. Erin King, the Queen of Scottsville, said, I studied interior design. I would have studied graphic design if she could do it all over again. Erin King, you're as good a designer as I know. Anyone I know in this community, you're as good as any of them. If you need a restaurant or marketing or branding or anything like that, Erin King is the real freaking deal. And I sincerely mean that. I worked alongside Erin King when helping launch Commonwealth Sky Bar. I Love CVille helped drive new customers to Commonwealth Sky Bar, and she ran a lot of the day-to-day operations, and she was dynamite. Bill McChenzie says, being a lifeguard at a pool is almost as fun as being a bus driver. Yeah, no wonder we couldn't get any freaking bus drivers during the pandemic. Let's sit in a tin can that has crappy air conditioning and heat during a pandemic when we know COVID is airborne, drive 20 to 25 kids around, have them scream in your ear, get severely underpaid, less than 25 G's a year, driving around in a tin can, a Petri dish during a pandemic with children screaming at you. Sounds great. Sounds awesome. Shocking that there's vacancies there. Two other topics before we get to the Antonio Banderas of finance. You keep bringing this up. Draft Taproom is still not open on the downtown mall.
Yeah.
I keep bringing this up. World of Beer, there's still not a new tenant in place at the World of Beer on West Main.
I didn't even know World of Beer was gone.
We talked about this on the show. We were the first to tell people that World of Beer closed.
I must not have been paying attention.
Thank you. Thank you. Computer science, computer engineering, USC, and you don't have to pay attention. Yeah. Here you got to pay attention a little bit.
Talk to me about computer science, computer engineering. I'll pay
come
attention.
On.
But
computer science, computer engineering. If you were doing that right now, you would be in Costa Rica, living your best life. You're still living your best life in Charlottesville. You're a homeowner. Got a great boss. Got a great boss. Got a great boss. So, World of Beer still does not have a tenant in the space. Draft Taproom is not open. There is a new Mediterranean restaurant coming to the old Mangione space. The restaurant is going to be Mediterranean seafood. Mediterranean seafood is somewhat of the same space of Siren. Siren is Mediterranean seafood.
Orzo.
I'd say Orzo is more Italian.
But they do a lot of Mediterranean seafood.
They do. Mediterranean seafood. What do you think of that niche?
It's very
for
niche.
Opening up a restaurant in the midst of a recession.
I mean, Orzo, it actually says industrial chic spot serving area-sourced Mediterranean fare.
Okay.
But,
so we just rattled off 3 right there. So you got Siren that's doing Mediterranean seafood. J-Dubs just confirmed Orzo doing Mediterranean seafood.
And Orzo is practically right across the street.
How do you say the name of this new restaurant? S-M-Y-R-N-A.
Smyrna.
Yeah.
It's Smyrna?
Yeah, it's a city.
It's a Greek city.
It's a city in Greece? Smyrna. Okay, so the restaurant's name is Smyrna. Thank you, Antonio Banderas. Alex Urpí from the green room. He's looking sharp in a green button down. You know what? Let's get Alex Urpí in the mix here so you guys can see his green button down. I would love to hear him offer some take on Smyrna. One of the things I love about the Urpí men is they're well read. They have a lot of perspective to offer on a lot of different topics. Smyrna is the new restaurant.
To be honest, I know that from the...
How do you know that?
I know that from the ancient church in the Bible.
Is that how?
A couple people were from Smyrna. It was a major city at one time.
Alex Urpí is the baritone voice that you're hearing right now. His face is now on screen. He's the CEO of Emergent Financial Services. And I learned today, was it classic literature you majored in? What was it?
So I majored in comparative literature. Studied that and economics while I was at PVCC and then UVA.
So this guy uses both sides of the brain. What did you make of, and Judah, you jump in the mix as well. What did you make of philosophy degree, VCU, $17,475 yearly earnings?
My suspicion when I hear something like that is that means they're not in job, they couldn't find work in philosophy. In other words, they're probably doing a different job and not qualified to do other types of jobs because the degree is philosophy. My suspicion is, I think philosophy is like some of the like the niche liberal arts. If you can reach those teaching positions, those high-end positions, or you're able to use it as an outside the box kind of thing, you can go far with it. But some people, I think, take the degrees and then they don't end up working in that field, and they end up in jobs where they're just as low-skilled labor as anyone else, and so you get paid very little.
According to VCU, half of its philosophy graduates end up going to law school or some kind of postgraduate degree. Because they stepping stone it.
So I wonder if that's a skewed number. Maybe that's just them working their way through law school and low-paying jobs because they don't have time to do like a more exacting job.
That's a good question.
You got 50%. I mean, I would imagine if you get through law school, you got to be making more than $17,000.
Do you think that some
maybe
degrees...
people that start off in philosophy and move to law are actually looking for, not necessarily pro bono work, but they're the type of people that are actively trying to help people rather than have a big
like a
firm,
legal aid.
Yeah, that's true.
Have a big firm that makes billions of dollars helping corporations get out of loopholes.
Do you think the degrees should be caveated now with earning potential associated with the degree? Or do you think degrees, some should be eliminated altogether based on the earning potential associated with said degree? Like, why go to college, 4 years of debt, or 4 years of payment, or 4 years of loan, however the hell you're going to finance it? Why go to college, rack up all this stuff, this debt, and then come out with a job that's paying this kind of wage a year?
I wouldn't say eradicated, because there are always going to be people that perhaps their financial situation otherwise leads them to take this degree. I've seen very successful people that they use some of these out-of-the-box degrees to have successful finance careers. I knew 2 private equity guys that their degrees were philosophy and religious studies. And you would sit there and say, how on earth can you end up in private equity? But they attributed their success to being that they thought differently than people who had finance degrees in private equity. So I think there are times when it can work, but I do think, I agree with your first point, which is I do think people should have data, and a school should be able to provide its prospective students information on, all right, what does this degree look like? Particularly if you're going to be taking out student loan debt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing if you're paying for your own college and you happen to be on the wealthier side, and I want to become a philosopher, and I can afford to do this, and this is the degree I've chosen. It's one thing. If you are 18, you're not quite made up your mind, and you take out a bunch of student loan debt, which is very easy to take out because anyone will give it to you.
Yeah.
And you then go there and get a degree in which you will never be able to pay back that debt. That's I think more information I don't think can hurt anyone there.
Definitely.
I agree 100% with that. It's almost got to have going to college almost has to have a label like on a bottle of medicine. And this is a warning label.
Inactive ingredient.
I'm thinking more like a.
This is
more
the
like
warning label.
I'm thinking more like a disclaimer that you have to sign off. I know that taking this philosophy major may make it extremely difficult for me to pay off my student loan debt.
Exactly.
I understand this, and I am choosing to move forward with this degree.
It's like when Wild Wing Cafe used to be in existence on West Main Street by the train station. Wild Wing Cafe had an off-menu item, and the off-menu item was Devil's Heat wings. These wings were Devil's Heat, and you had to sign a waiver before they served you Devil's Heat wings.
In case you choked on it or
In case you died. In case you die.
Wow.
If you want to eat this Devil's Heat wings, you sign this waiver and you clear us of all liability and exposure. Same damn thing. You want to go to VCU and you want to live in Carytown and you want to marry in philosophy and you want to go to Sticky Rice and if you want to go to Can and if you want to go to all these restaurants and if you want to study philosophy and you're going to come out making 17 G's a year, you sign this waiver where you're basically selling your soul to the tuition devil. That's basically what's happening.
In reality, that's part of the issue with the fact that student loans are federally subsidized at this point. In other words, if you had a free market for student loans, let's say someone came to you, Jerry, Jerry Miller's bank for student loans, and like, yeah, here's my philosophy. I'm taking a philosophy degree, and I want to borrow $60,000 from out of state. You're going to say either no, or you're going to say that's a 9% interest rate, buddy, because that's a very risky proposition, at which point they're now discouraged from doing it. But the fact is right now, the people giving out the student loans, right, because it's so subsidized, you and I are paying for the student loan, but the person giving it out, it's not their money. So the colleges can just charge whatever they want. And there's no pressure to not take a major because of a different interest rate. In other words, once all the student loan interest rates are subsidized at 3%, you're basically saying, well, my interest rate is the same whether I take a very risky major like philosophy or gender studies or whether I take a very sure major like engineering. It's the same number. But I bet you don't think some people might think a little if you sit there and say, wait a second, my interest rate on my student loan is 9% if I take philosophy and it's 3% if I take engineering.
That's the way it should be.
Which one? That's what it would be if it was a more free market there, but it's a very subsidized market.
I love that idea. Do you love that idea?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, and also I think just more of a guideline to what you're getting yourself into when you go to take out a college loan.
I mean, they should. It should be done that way. It should. In fact, the fields of business where we're short people should be incentivized perhaps even more. Like maybe that's a way we figure out how to get the shortages that are associated with, and granted these are more trades than an educational path, but electrician, plumber.
What if you didn't subsidize it? Let's face it, those would be, I would imagine a free student loan market in which you can, people are out there charging interest rates that they deem appropriate. You're going to have a very low interest rate if you're going into a trade because it's a very steady
especially now.
Especially now.
Because there's none out there. There's
not a lot out there and it cannot be automated.
Right.
Right. In other words, flipping burgers one day. I've already seen the.
It's gonna be a robot.
I don't know if you've seen the commercial. It was on local television. This commercial. I forgot what channel I was watching, and selling to companies the robot that will flip the robot arm that will flip the burgers and what should we call it? Fry the fries in a restaurant. Literally, it's just an arm moving back and forth. That can be automated. The plumber coming into your house.
Right. You
can't automate that job away. A machine is no one's going to be like, send this machine into my basement, this little robot into my basement to fix that. If that happens, it's like 200, 300 years away.
Yeah.
It's not happening anytime soon. These are jobs that cannot be automated, the trades.
Janice Boyce Trevelyan. Judah, you got something to say? Let me say what Janice has to say, and then Judah, you jump in here. Janice Boyce Trevelyan says, gentlemen, there's also a Smyrna in Tennessee.
Oh, in Tennessee.
There's a Smyrna in Tennessee. Smyrna is the new restaurant on West Main Street in the old Mangione's spot. Smyrna is a Mediterranean seafood inspired restaurant. Bill McKenzie says
there's
when
also
he
a
was a
Smyrna-
bus driver,
there's
he
also a
drove 40
Smyrna,
kids.
Georgia.
There's
What's
a Smyrna, Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay. Bill McKenzie said when he drove, there were 40 kids in his bus when he was driving. What did you want to say about what Alex had to say, and then we'll go to the next topic?
Oh, let's see. I think I was just going to say that I think before we ever got robots fixing our plumbing, we'd have houses that were so fully automated and
Smart houses.
and aware that they would send a message to your plumber saying, "Hey, we need you to send someone out to fix something that we can't fix with a robot."
It's probably true.
I like it.
I would agree with that.
I like it. Okay, so here's what I want to ask you about yesterday. It was a tough day yesterday.
Oh, yes.
It was like Judah and I were sitting here on the screen. We're like, this is a bloodbath.
Oh, it was.
The inflation's hotter than anticipated. Now the expectation is what? 75 basis points for Powell.
I've seen some people expecting 1%.
1%.
Wow.
I've seen some.
They think he's going to go higher than.
Then the 75 basis points.
I would be very surprised if there's
Tomorrow,
actually
right?
Yeah, tomorrow. I would
Yeah.
be very surprised if there was a 100 basis point hike in the rate in one shot.
Yeah.
It's the market. There are market commentators I have seen who are suggesting that that's what they expect. I'm not sure that I would go there at this point. That seems like a very massive hike. But then again, as we've seen, right, sometimes it's not the hike itself. The very possible thought that they might do that has already pushed, I think, the 10 years at, 3.45
Yeah.
today?
I mean, you've got volatility everywhere. I mean, we're in bear market territory. S&P 500 is in a bear market. Futures were up this morning.
But I think it's down. I think it turned around.
We're red.
I think
We're red
back-
across the
again.
board.
Well,
Yeah.
there's also doesn't help that so producer price index came in this morning. Producer price index is still over 10, meaning even though inflation hit 8.6%, that means the wholesalers are facing prices that are going up even more than that. So I don't think we're at the end of inflation rate increasing. That a higher producer price index usually portends a higher consumer price index, because what your retail store pays is going to be passed on to you.
Here's something that it was startling. Are you ready for this? Keith Smith forwarded me an email. This is from a Brokers Open in Charlottesville. Okay? This is literally a Brokers Open in Charlottesville, a townhome on East High Street that's under $500,000 in the city. Under $500,000 in the city is hard to find. There's a Brokers Open for a brand new, beautiful townhome. To get people to the Brokers Open, they're raffling a $100 gift card. They're having to utilize raffles and prizes to get people to Brokers Opens to see under $500,000 listings
That wasn't
on the
happening
market.
90 days ago.
No, that wasn't happening 90 days ago.
Is this because of the mortgage rates?
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, rates are going up so fast, it's depleting the buyer pool, diminishing demand, and now Brokers Opens that used to have a waiting line and people camping in front of the Brokers Open before it even started, where people were given 15 minutes to tour a house. We talked about it on this network for so long. 15 minutes to tour a house. Now the agents are having to seduce or lure the agents to the jagged, rocky coast with $100 gift cards. What does that tell you?
Wow. And also, let's not forget, I mean, you reach a point where the prices have gone high enough that there's no one left at that price point. And remember, as we've said, as Xavier has often talked about, a higher mortgage rate also means that you're paying higher across the board. In other words, if house price, let's say the price of the house you want to buy goes up $50,000, that $50,000 is spread out over 30 years. Mortgage rates go up 1%. That 1% is applied to every single payment, every single year's worth of payment for the next 30 years.
We're at 6 now. We're at 6 on a 30 fix with good credit. And let's see what happens when our Judah's super tight inner circle homie, Jay Powell, comes out and says 75 basis point increase. That's your buddy.
He's
I mean,
not
you guys
my
are playing
buddy.
canasta together, you and Jay Powell.
Hell no.
You know, okay, we know he doesn't
Powell.
like Jay Powell. Judah Wickower. Jay Powell, you were of the impression the dude should have ripped it off like a Band-Aid and jacked rates up at the beginning of the year or sooner to just get ahead of this inflation.
I don't know if there's any way to get ahead of it. I think they may be between a rock and a hard place with, just everything they've basically dug their own hole.
Yeah. I don't believe that they can raise rates to a level that would actually push down inflation.
Why? Because it would just
'Cause it would
tank the economy?
Exactly. Plus the debt of the federal government cannot afford. Like, could you imagine what would happen to our federal debt if there was a 14% interest rate, like there used to be back in the?
We'd
when my
collapse.
it would
The
collapse.
house of
You realize
cards
that
would collapse.
It's already 10% of the budget is interest payments on the debt. Can you that thing quadruples if you jack interest rates from almost 0 to 11 or 12, 13, and they literally cannot raise rates to a degree that would impact in the inflation that we're seeing.
Carol Thorpe, we'll get to your comment here in about 10 seconds. There's a new Smyrna in Florida, south of Daytona.
A new one?
According to viewer and listener William. He says a new Smyrna in Florida. The viewers and listeners are so smart.
Maybe this is apt that there are so many Smyrnas and a new one, considering that Smyrna was mentioned in the book of Revelation.
Do we think? Oh, wow.
We've talked about that with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse on this show before.
Do we think the Smyrna that is the new restaurant on West Main Street that is Mediterranean seafood inspired is named after the Smyrna south of Daytona Beach in Florida?
Probably the one in Greece.
Okay, it's the one in Greece? All right, I think he's right. Probably the one in Greece. Queen of Jack Jewett says this, gentlemen, Carol Thorpe, gentlemen, I cannot recall right now who proposed it, but someone recently floated the idea that anyone who submits to have their college loans fully paid by taxpayers, presumably because they are unable to pay due to an inability to earn, must forfeit their degree back to the issuing university or college. They could not list the degree on any job application or under penalty of law if discovered. What do you think about that? So you can't pay your college tuition, you can't pay your loans, you have to give your degree back. And if you ever are caught misrepresenting having a degree on a resume, you're popped by the law.
Doesn't that kind of still let the college off the hook?
Yeah.
Having jacked up their tuition and not delivered a degree that's even remotely competitive?
Is it the college and is it the college that's to blame?
I think it's wrong to penalize a 17, 18-year-old who's going to college and having no idea what they want to do, and like Alex was saying, the over-subsidization of college loans makes it way too easy for anyone going into college to just get a loan, take whatever major
they want to study,
major they want, and then years down the road end up having to pay for their decisions. And I think it's unfair to put the onus of that all on a young student who's trying to figure out what they want to do in this world.
You agree? I agree.
I agree as well. Remember, the issue is that price is there. I think it was, I forget which economist said this back in the day. Price is there to give us information. The price of something helps us to make a decision as to whether or not we should purchase that item. When price has been distorted, as it is in the case of subsidized student loans, that makes it harder for an 18-year-old to make the right decision because price has been distorted. The price of a lot of these student loans probably should be more than 3% to indicate the risk of what you are about to undertake, but it is artificially pushed down, thereby failing to convey to you the actual risk that you are taking because it has been pushed down so much. And again, it's a two-way street here. Yes, are there some degrees that you should know better than to assume that taking this degree is going to really. I mean, should you think twice before one of those international studies degrees or a degree that mixes matches or a philosophy degree, etc. Yes, but at the same time, the cost of the degree, the amount of loans you're taking out, is also related to the fact that the universities have pushed up their tuition rates far more than inflation over the past 30 years. So the person responsible for picking the degree, yes, the student. The person responsible for charging way more for that degree because of the fact that the student loan market is messed up is the university. They've gotten away with charging far more because then the price is distorted, right? If I say I want to go to UVA and I want to do a gender studies major, and the student loan market does not exist, and UVA says, the price for this degree, since you live in Florida, the price for this degree is $60,000. I, as the 18-year-old, now have to be like, $60,000. I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it,
right?
Yeah.
But what happens? Student loan terms says, no, it's all paid for at a 3% subsidized interest rate. You don't have to worry about this for years. Don't worry about it now. You get to go to college. You don't have to worry about coming up with $60,000 now. You do it. What is it? And in reality, the only way to push the tuition prices down is people have to say no, right? If you think about it, if I'm selling bread and you come into my store and bread is $10 in my store and you say, I'm not buying bread for $10 for this one.
You're going to be forced to drop the price.
You leave. What I have to do, I drop the price.
Yeah.
But if at any price of bread, Judah says, don't worry, I'm giving Jerry the money to buy the bread and he just owes me 3% over years. You're going to buy the bread every single time because
I'll cover the cost of anything, over $7.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, bread's only $3.
Give me some butter, baby.
Exactly. You're going to buy the bread every time because your perception of the cost of the bread has been distorted. And that's the issue that
And then Alex is going to say, hey, everybody's buying bread for $10. Let me see if I can get 11.
Exactly.
And then Judah's going to say, Alex is selling it for 11. Why don't we bump it to 12? And then next thing you know...
And the next thing you know, you've got universities that are insanely priced for, for the normal person.
And before you know it, cities that are 10.2 square miles in size and roughly 50,000 in population become homogenous, wealthy, and push all the working class out of the urban ring, away from the university, because the only people that can live there are the only ones whose parents can afford $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year
without debt.
Without debt.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at. And that's what happened. And we just gave you a very succinct Cliff Notes, approachable explanation
in the last 30 years
of what's happened to Charlottesville, Virginia over the last 2 generations. That's where we're at. Who can afford to go to UVA and stay in Charlottesville and be here for 4 years?
The same people that are buying up all the property and coming back here because they loved it so much.
Exactly. Guess what's happening? Rich kids with wealthy parents are coming to Charlottesville for a 4-year rite of passage. They fall in love with the community, and then they want to move back here. The people that are falling in love with the community over a 4-year rite of passage are rich and wealthy. They're not diverse.
Some of them, I don't think they even come because of the rite of passage. I think a lot of the Northern Virginia just says, hey,
it's UVA.
I'm going to get paid a bunch of money and I can work remotely. Why would I work in the traffic and hustle and bustle of Northern Virginia when I could live in Charlottesville, go to wineries, see the beautiful mountains, and I get paid the same amount of money and I can afford anything that's there?
Literally, our neighbors across the street are what he just described. Mom and dad working out of the basement for 2 DC firms.
Yeah.
Their kids go to St. Anne's Belfield. They're literally able to do whatever they want. Anytime they want in this town. Literally perfect explanation.
And to tie it together, that's your fancy seafood restaurant opening right now in a nutshell. In other words, you don't open that restaurant unless you probably have a pretty good feeling that Charlottesville is either recession-proof or that there's still enough wealthy people in Charlottesville that regardless of the recession, they will come buy fish.
And maybe
fish is not cheap.
Fish is not cheap. And maybe there is.
Maybe there, as I'm saying, I can't definitively tell you that there are not enough wealthy people in Charlottesville that regardless of the situation will go and eat fish.
Maybe this is why the Mediterranean seafood-inspired restaurant is opening in the old Mangionis, Judah. Maybe there is. Right?
Who knows? Yeah. I mean,
maybe Draft Taproom, instead of pouring draft tapped beer, maybe Draft Taproom is going to turn into the caviar room. where it's caviar that
Yeah.
comes out of the taps instead of cold beer.
Caviar and goose liver pate.
That's, yeah, there you go.
See, Judah's going there.
I know. Hey, computer science, computer engineering, you would have been first in line.
For a goose liver pate, I don't think so.
You would not have been first in line for a goose liver pate. That was funny, Judah. That was funny. All right, last topic. I really was thinking about you guys when I read this morning to prepare for the show. Larry Ellison is a billionaire, right? So Larry Ellison is best known as the co-founder of Oracle. He's the world's 11th richest person. He has a net worth of $90 billion. 90 with a B, $90 billion. He has purchased 98% of Lanai, a Hawaiian island. And he bought Lanai over the course of a handful of years, and now pretty much owns the island. Listen to what Larry Ellison owns. He owns the island's main grocery store. He owns the island's only gas station.
Whoa.
He owns the island's newspaper, the only non-Four Seasons hotel. He's the main developer, frankly, the only developer on the island.
But he also owns the Four Seasons hotels.
Owns the Four Seasons Hotel, controls the police force. Larry Ellison does. So no surprise during the pandemic as Larry Ellison is turning Lanai into a bastion for the rich and famous, aka Charlottesville. No surprise we're seeing people like Elon Musk, Tom Cruise, and the former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Netanyahu.
Thank you. In Lanai.
Oh, yeah, no,
What do you make of a 90 billionaire Oracle co-founder buying a Hawaiian island and then controlling every aspect of the island and turning it legitimately into a playground for the rich?
I mean, it's not really that try. Isn't there already one? I think there's already like a little Cayman island that does the same thing. It's not surprising. They don't want to be, at some point, they don't want to be bothered by the rest of us.
Yeah, they want nothing to do. They don't want to breathe the same air as the rest of us. They don't want to breathe the air that Jerry and Judah and Alex are breathing.
Well, except for the fact that that Ellison is not going to be personally running any of the hotels or the grocery store or the gas station. So
That's true. At some point, I guess he'll have to have.
he
we'll have to be
does
there.
need people.
He needs the Alex, Judas, and Jerry's to run the businesses to keep his island afloat. How is this? And make a correlation to Charlottesville.
He also needs someone to make the beds and to stock the shelves. I mean, you know, when Tom Cruise comes to the island and wants to get a half calf, whatever.
I thought you were going to make a reference to Scientology there.
No.
No, that would be too cheap of a reference, do you think? Scientology. Make the comparison, or the reason I bring it up is the comparison to Charlottesville. Charlottesville is quickly and very obviously becoming a playground for very wealthy people. Certainly some of the collateral damage of COVID. But for all the very wealthy people that live in Charlottesville, we need people running the businesses.
You still need someone to make your McDonald's burger and meet you at the window.
Yeah, we still need the tomatoes asados cooked at Mas Tapas, or the bocadillo cooked, or the steakhouse burger at Citizen Burger Bar cooked,
absolutely.
or the ice cream scooped at Chaps, or the whiskey poured at the whiskey jar. Mm-hmm. If we're not careful, Charlottesville is going to turn into this playground of wealthy people where locals that have to serve the wealthy won't want to come here.
Well, yeah.
Has it already become?
Not quite. I mean, I don't think there's still enough competition. I mean, you're talking about a scenario there where there's like literally one guy controls 98% of everything. Here, I think there's still enough competition. There's still
Larry
enough.
Ellison is the UVA. Larry Ellison is to Lanai what UVA is to Charlottesville.
I'd be curious to know. I actually don't know the answer. I don't know what percent of, as an example, what percent of Charlottesville's workforce is controlled by UVA. Like how much of a monopsony employer that is.
That's a great
I'd be
question.
curious to know, like, in other words, what percent of buying power and hiring power does the one institution have? Like, is it a monopsony employer?
Are you looking that up, Judah?
Trying.
That's a great. That'd
Or
be
is
a
it
tough thing
one
to
of
look up.
many? It's like, is it share, bid but not controlling?
What percentage of Central Virginia's labor market is tied to the University of Virginia or any of its subsidiaries? That is a phenomenal question.
Because that tells you the power. Like anytime you cross 50%, you've got control. Right?
That is a phenomenal question. That's something that's going to be difficult to search and find.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure a study has.
That is a great
Has
question.
even been done on that.
What would you, if I put the over/under at 10%, would you take over or under 10%?
I'd probably take over 10.
So Central Virginia in totality, let's call it Central Virginia, is 300,000 people.
So I wouldn't, not Central Virginia. I was
Okay.
thinking Charlottesville.
Because, well, I would say this, I'm going to play devil's advocate for the sake of a talk show. The majority of folks that work at the University of Virginia cannot afford to live in the city of Charlottesville.
And that's a good point.
Yeah, so I would bet the majority of folks that work at Central Virginia are living in Central Virginia and
then
not Charlottesville,
driving,
Albemarle,
yeah.
and then driving. Like
yeah, well, I'm saying
Buckingham,
you've added
Nelson.
enough people there that I wonder if it would actually be 10% of the of all employment.
Danny O'Day says
Okay,
we're about...
here we go.
You got it?
Well, yeah, I don't know what Danny O'Day has to say.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, there are over 12,500 employees at UVA with an additional 5,500 working at the UVA, the University Medical Center.
Okay, so that's 18,000.
These
right there.
figures represent 15% of the total employment for Charlottesville and Albemarle County.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So 15%
15% of total
of Charlottesville City and Albemarle County is the University of Virginia. That's a lot.
It's a lot,
higher than I thought.
but not control. In other words, it's not big enough that you could say that they can control pricing of labor and so forth. I mean, it's a lot. It's a big employer, but they're still subject to like the rules of competition.
Let's do this. So you said it's 18,000 people that are employed by UVA and its subsidiaries. City of Charlottesville, let's call it 50,000 people. Albemarle County is population 108,000. So we're going to go 108,000 plus 50,000 is 158,000. 158,000, did we say it was 18K at UVA?
18K UVA.
So
That leaves
that's
you with
times,
140.
was that 12%? Yeah, it's 12%.
Yeah,
So
18 out.
12% of the population, City of Charlottesville and Albemarle County, works at UVA. That's a boatload.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like you said, the equivalent of 12%, because there may be people that are working at UVA that can't afford to live in either Charlottesville or Albemarle County.
The equivalent,
So
12%.
the equivalent of 12% of the entire area.
And then the next question should be, how many people that live in Charlottesville and Central Virginia are on the supply chain that is UVA?
Oh.
So may not work directly from UVA, get a paycheck,
That's it, yeah.
but are like washing the uniforms, Cintas for the UVA route.
Yep.
Or they're like the remodeler for UVA grounds for projects. Probably close to half.
So that's got to be much larger.
Danny O'Day says, gentlemen, we're about 15 years away from Larry Ellison's island being a Jeffrey Epstein Part 2
Oh, good
on
lord.
that island.
Oh, I hope not.
Carol Thorpe says, you're being generous, Danny. I give it 7 to 10 years before Larry Ellison's island turns into Jeffrey Epstein.
I would hope the FBI pays a better attention to
Watch
it than they did.
closely. Anywhere Tom Cruise is going, you better watch closely. All right, Alex Urpí, the show is yours. Today, y mañana, Thursday at 10:15
Today,
a.m.
Manana, so we got a fantastic guest lined up for you on Today, Manana, that's going to join us. So, I mean, first off, I think that Xavier's going to be back.
Ooh,
I think that Xavier is back this week.
Thank you, Xavier.
You know, the great working man that is Xavier Urpí. And we're going to be joined by, just pulling him up here, because we're going to be joined by Michael Lampros of Gunther's Gourmet Groceries, LLC.
Ooh.
So he's got, he's creator and distributor, so he's got all natural award-winning salsas, dips, and Bloody Mary mixers. So he's going to
Yum.
join Xavier and myself.
That sounds delicious. Judah's hoping for some gourmet groceries on Thursday.
I'm hoping
I
for
know,
some,
so
Keep our
I'm hoping
fingers
for some
crossed.
gourmet Bloody Marys.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I'm about to say he probably going for that.
what is a gourmet Bloody Mary? Is it just the mix?
I don't
It's
know.
got to be the mix.
So no, the mix, so that's all natural award-winning
Oh,
salsas, dips, and Bloody Marys. And then the name is Gourmet Groceries, LLC.
okay. Very nice. Their show is called Today y Mañana. It's presented by Emergent Financial Services, and it airs Thursdays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille Network. Xavier Urpí is going to be in the mix. We're very excited about that, as we're huge fans of Xavier. Alex Urpí always does a fantastic job.
Thank you.
My friend, today was fun.
It was.
Thank you.
It's always interesting to cover all these I like the mix of the local topics and also like important things that are happening in the economy. It's important for people to know about it and know the different perspectives on it.
I got to give this man props. He walks into this studio on Tuesdays and legitimately has no idea what we're going to talk about. Like, has zero idea. The extent of our text messaging is, you good for 12:50? Yes?
Yep.
Yes? All right, see you there.
Good.
And then he comes in and he kills it every Tuesday.
And to be clear, like I have no idea what's even being discussed prior because I
You're
drive
commuting.
here. I'm commuting.
Yeah.
So like, and I don't have the list. I can't listen to it.
He
I don't
comes
wanna
into
drain
the
my
Lions
data.
Den.
So I literally, from 12:30 to 12:50, I have no idea what you two have been discussing.
This man comes into the Lion's Den and tames the lion that is Judah Wickower every Tuesday. Every Tuesday. Alex, thank
Me?
you.
I'm not sure anyone should
just
tame
joking.
Judah
I
Wickower.
know, I was just joking.
Judah Wickower is a true a wild African lion.
Look
as
at
they
that!
say.
Look at that hair and look at that red beard. This man's passionate. Passionate. Alex, you crushed it.
Thank you.
Judah, you were on point today as well.
Thank you.
For Alex Urpí and Judah Wickower, my name is Jerry Miller, and this is the I Love CVille Show on a Tuesday, presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are back tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. with Real Talk with Keith Smith as we talk interest rates potentially eclipsing 6% as early as today, maybe tomorrow. Watch closely. Thank you for joining us. Have a good afternoon. Take care. Gift cards.
That